Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. This is the viewer's voice. My name is Emmet, and with me tonight is Ash and Dan. We do also have Ron coming on board as well, but he's currently, he texted there to say that he's just trying to close a deal with somebody called Nunez. I don't know what he's talking about. How are you tonight, lads?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Been a busy week. Nearly the weekend. Nearly another game day. Cannot wait, mate. Cannot wait. It's been a long and tiring one, but yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Good stuff. And Dan, welcome back. How are you, pal?
I'm all good. Cheers, Emmet. A couple of weeks off, thankfully for me. F1 shut down, courtesy of the FIA. So yeah, nice 2 weeks at home for me before we get back into it. And after that, it's 9 races in 12 weeks, so it's going to be a big push to the end of the season. But yeah,
That's you do that for work.
I work for Red Bull Racing. Yeah.
All right, very good.
Wow, okay. Hot shot over there.
We'll try and get him up for a few tickets, Ash. So look, since we Ash, you were on last week, and we were all really looking forward to the start of the new season. Dan, we touched on it as well, when you were on 2 weeks ago. So everybody's really kind of had their opinion on it. We won't go back into it in too much detail because I'm conscious that people in the comment section, we've spoken about it on a few shows at this stage, but give us your kind of brief opinion on what happened last Saturday morning, Ash.
I think I kind of cursed it, mate, on last week's episode. There was me saying it's going to be 4-5-0, and I'm hoping that someone in midfield doesn't get injured, and then look what happens. Thiago decides to pull up and then out for the next 6 weeks. So I'm not even going to make a prediction, mate, for this week because I don't want to get a little lashing from everyone and jinxing it. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut about Monday. But it was just frustrating, very frustrating. I think we were lucky in the end. But if we're going to play like that and still get some out of it, I'm all for it. But yeah, could have done better. It was a bit of a shame. But we move on to the next one, mate, really.
Good stuff. And Dan, what did you make of it?
I mean, I was just saying to Chris before we came on that I missed the first 55 of the game, so I had to watch that back at a later point in the night. But to me, they just looked, all of them. I mean, there was 4 or 5 that you could probably pull out and say they weren't, they weren't brilliant at all. But I think as a collective, they just looked a yard short. They didn't seem to be that fizz I expected to see from them, especially when you looked at them against City the week before. They looked like they were just about there, or they were peaking towards the right time. And then I think I read or listened to one of the Anfield Rap podcasts, and they were saying that Klopp had said pre-game or in the lead up to the game that he'd wanted an extra two weeks ideally for pre-season. So I think it's possible that he's run the legs off them in that week, and they've probably gone into that game Saturday midday, and they've just it's not there in the legs. It's there in the mind, but it's not there in the legs. And we were short. And I was saying to Chris as well before, Mitrovic is an okay centre forward. He'll score probably 10 or 15 goals in the season this year for Fulham, but we made him look like a striker that belongs in a team in the top 6, and he's not a top 6 striker. No. It should have been early on. Van Dijk. It's not Matip's game, and it's probably not Virgil's, but one of them, maybe even Robbo, should have just let something on him because he's got a temperament, and he has got a temper, and you can fluster him. And I think if we would just put something on him early doors, because he was running amok, he might have got a different story. But yeah, I don't know.
Clip his wings.
Yeah.
So I think Ash trying to take the blame on his prediction last week, but I don't know whether we have a Canadian friend of ours tuning in on Irish and British time because he's currently on Irish soil. But he also made a statement about Mitrovic the week before, saying the last time he was in the Premier League, he was absolute garbage. So I think maybe Mitrovic was probably watching that pod, and he decided to go out and show us that he wasn't. Anyway, look, this is Viewer's Voice. As everybody knows now, the way we work it on Viewer's Voice, each week, each one of the guests will give a topic to discuss. and we'll go around the houses and kind of get people's opinions on it. So up first this week, we are going to have Ash's, and Ash, your topic is a very topical topic at the moment. Is I'm only going to say social media. And just to say, he is listening. I am tuning in, and yes, he was. So Ash, social media, discuss.
It's a cesspit, mate. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating. And what makes it worse is that we've got people who are Liverpool fans and top Reds. Oh, here he is. Here's all Ron.
Right, Ron. Did you close that deal?
Hey, normally I would have just ignored them, but they're one of those clients that keeps the light on. So
decent add-ons, Ron. Decent add-ons.
They pay good money, so I couldn't just say I'll talk to you later.
Better than us.
A little bit.
So, Ash, on social media, Ron, we've already spoken about last Saturday. I'll get your opinion before we move on to the next topic. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. Last Saturday obviously was disappointing for a lot of reasons. I do agree with the rest of the guys, though. I think the response has been a little bit overblown, and I understand why, considering we lost the league by 1 point. But I'd rather us have our bad day in the season now, while there's still so many ways to make it up, as opposed to having our bad day like that in May. So it is what it is, and we move on and let's push forward.
Good stuff. And that's a nice little segue, because Ash, you wanted to talk about social media, and I don't think it's just around even that result, because I think one I've seen was we need to sign a midfielder to try and get back into this title race. One game in, but transfers as well.
It's just everything, isn't it, mate? Like you said, it's individual criticism of each player, the team as a whole, lack of spending, not a high enough profile player that we're signing, results, contracts given to players. It's just, if there's something to moan about, there's got to be pinpointed. It's just ridiculous. It's comical. It really is comical, and we've all probably seen it. It's there every day. You could see it. It's, if there's something to be found, they're going to say it, and it's just ridiculous. It really is. And surely it's all about enjoying the moment. Yeah, okay, we dropped 2 points against Fulham. Right, it's the first game of the season. Who cares? It's one game. There's 37 games left to go. Man City lost the first game last season against Spurs. Did they wave the white flag? No, they didn't. They ended up winning the league, unfortunately, by 1 point. One game doesn't determine what's going to happen for the rest of the season. But you've got people chucking it in already, or blaming the fact that we've got a lack of midfielders, or we haven't spent enough money and stuff. It just seems like all they are is a Klopp era fan, and they just don't understand half the things that, as fans like ourselves, have been through for the last 20, 30, 40 years, or however that may be. We've been through the highs, we've been through the lows. Blimey, we were like a few hours away from liquidization, and we had Hicks and Gillette, Roy Hodgson. The list is endless. But because we haven't signed a midfielder, because apparently we've got like 3 out in midfield because they're out injured, it's the end of the world. That's it. Let's wave the white flag. We haven't got any money. We're cheap. FSG don't spend. It's comical, mate. It's just annoying more than anything.
And I think Chris sums it up there as well. Is that, like, I don't think. Well, look, we have a handful of people that will think that we're fine with the midfield that we have, but I think, Ron thinks our midfield is tenuous. Just like
I knew we were getting back to that.
No. But I think what Chris says there, it's fine if you want to have another midfielder, and Chris himself will agree that he feels you need one, but you don't need to be an arsehole I'll say the full word. Chris just says arsehole on social media. And what I mean, I'll come to you next, Dan. What do these people like? Why do they do? Why do they make the comment? Are they getting some sort of? Is it like an instant gratification where somebody actually agrees with them? Is it like? Are they looking for somebody to talk to and looking for a reaction? Like it just comes across as a little bit sad, and it's not even reaction to matches, okay? Because I get that everybody's be pissed off after a bad result, but you've got the whole issue with a midfielder. You've got like people tweeting and like tagging Liverpool Football Club, tagging John Henry's wife Linda, like. What is it they think that's going to happen by doing these things?
I mean, we've all seen them tweets where they've they've tagged Linda or they've tagged John W. Henry and asked him to spend some money on X, Y, or Z. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know if they're actually genuine fans of the club or if they are. I don't know if they're just doing it for a laugh, because some of the things that they come out with, you know, a normal person's not thinking like that. You know, it's kind of you tweet these things that they tweet, and you think, where have you got that idea from? I mean, some of the stuff that they say online, we haven't bought this player, or we need to buy this player, but then there's no rhyme or reason as to why they've said it. They've just come out and tweeted this tweet. I think it is a lot of it to get clicks, to get likes, to get interaction. I think a lot of them like maybe the club, but I think a lot of them like they like to antagonise people and they like to get a reaction. And obviously we've all seen top reds and all that kind of thing on online. There is a lot of fans that are very balanced, that give balanced views all the time. And very rarely do they overreact, but the majority, well, not the majority, there is a minority that will just go completely the other way. And there's no, when you try. I mean, I've got involved in conversations on a couple of occasions with a few of them involving their tweets, and I said, well, why do we need that player, or what makes you think that we need to spend this kind of money, or what makes you think we have that kind of money to spend? You know, that pandemic, I suppose, just pre and post pandemic, where nobody was spending any money, but Liverpool were tight because they weren't spending any money and they were making excuses. It was there in black and white that the reasons we weren't spending money was because of no fans in the ground, and commercial deals had been put on hold or had been diluted, if you like, and then you've got no match day revenue coming in, and even then, they're still not listening to that. They're not taking it on board. It's just like, you know, there's no point arguing with forward, is there really? It's just pointless.
John Henry bought a new yacht, Dan.
Yeah. He bought me one as well. But,
I think Kev touched on it there. It is. Look, let's face it. It's not just Liverpool fans. It is a societal problem. And like he says there, social media is lawless. Print media have to abide by laws. This isn't a Liverpool thing or a football thing. It's a real issue society has to deal with. And that is true. And maybe it's something that we pick up on a little bit more, obviously, from the Liverpool fan base, because we're more likely to have that in our feed, etc., etc. We see them being shared in chats and WhatsApp groups, etc., as well. It's on Facebook. I mean,
it's that quick fix.
I told a story earlier on. I showed you the picture. There was a picture of Tsimikas and Thiago, clearly in some sort of a rehab suite, but it looked like a kind of a swimming pool, and they were smiling, and Thiago had his hands up in the air, and like the comments underneath it were like, "I thought you were injured. Why are you looking so happy?" Like you're not allowed to smile if you're injured. You should be at home sitting down with a bag of peas on your knee, watching
with a cast on your leg.
That's not what happens. Like, do you know what I mean? They still go to training ground. They still do rehab. There's actual underwater treadmills that they use. They do a lot of pool work, but like, it's just like, so, it's like it does. I try not to reply to it anymore, but it's sometimes it's too hard. But it's not just transfers, and it's not just results. Like Salah scores a winning goal. Oh, Salah didn't smile in his celebration. Do you think that means that he's not going to sign a new deal? And then all of the body language experts come out. Ron, I'm not sure how much social media you look at. I'm not sure whether this is it a worldwide problem? Is it a problem in the States? What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's a big time problem in terms of, but it's a big time problem in terms of how much it gets pushed. But I think it's due to the way social media is set up. You know, with the way the algorithm works, the more sensational you are, the more hyperbolic you are, the more clicks you get, the more it gets pushed to the front of everybody's feed, regardless of the veracity of what you're saying, or whether it makes any sense, or whether it's even sane or borderline, abusatory. It doesn't matter. As long as it's driving views and clicks, it gets pushed to the front. And you have a lot of guys who are looking to get their 5 minutes of fame out of it, grow their viewer base, get their engagement up, so they can monetize on the platform. And unfortunately, that's just how that model works. And until we get a platform that tries to be a bit more sensible, I think we're going to be stuck with it for a while. But the good thing is, we have platforms like this and others who kind of push back to try to bring a sensible voice. So for those viewers who are trying to engage for the first time, or trying to feel their way into the space, to see that there are alternative views, alternative voices is a huge thing. Because if you just I always think about somebody who's just starting to follow the Reds, who doesn't live in Liverpool. What are the ways you're going to be able to engage with the community first and foremost? It's through watching games and social media, right? Like, that's going to be your first ports of call. And unfortunately, if all you see is everybody being hyperbolic anytime Thiago doesn't crack a smile for whatever reason, you might think that everybody who loves football everybody who loves Liverpool is schizophrenic. When they win a game, they're over the moon, and they can't take a loss on the chin, they can't take a draw on the chin. But that's not how most of us are. That's just how the loudest among us happen to be.
I think you hit the nail on the head there in terms of the most likes, the most clicks. I remember I made a comment under a video before that I'll call them a Liverpool fan put up, but they were literally completely lambasting the team. And I made a comment underneath it, and the reply questioned, what do you know? You only have 100 and such followers. And I was like,
it doesn't matter.
Does how many followers I have got to do with what I know about football? Like, do you know what I mean? It's just...
It just shows the mentality.
It goes to show, though, doesn't it? Like, some people's got 60,000 followers because they just talk bollocks all the time, and people just give them clickbait all the time, and they just talk nonsense 24/7. Liverpool are in a no-win situation with half of our fan base, because no matter what they do, they're going to get criticised. We need to buy a midfielder. Yeah, okay, we can, all of us, between us, can identify we need a midfielder. We're not blind, right? But as we have seen over the years, we do a lot of prep, we do a lot of scouting, we always make sure we choose the right player that's going to fit the team. But then if we pander to all these people on social media and buy a midfielder, and if they don't work out, then they're going to get criticised for just buying the wrong player. It doesn't matter who it's going to be. So if we're not going to buy anyone, then we're going to get criticised. If we buy someone and they're not going to perform, then it's going to be what a waste of money. It's just no win at all.
Van Dijk, Konate, they should all show you that the club will not go and just aimlessly spend money on, option number 3 or 4 just because 1 and 2 aren't available at said date. They'll wait to get them, and that's all. We've done that for the last 5 or 6 years. It's not going to change.
Another thing that cheesed me off, it's Harvey Elliott. He had a contract extension today. The club announced it, and the first thing, this is a cover-up. It's a cover-up. It's a cover-up because we're not going to buy a midfielder. It's like, Get your head out your asses, man. Do you know what I mean? Trust the team, trust Klopp, trust everything. They've proved in the last few years that they've given us enough to realise that what they're doing is correct. What does it matter? Surely.
Exactly that. And I started, like I said when I first came on to this channel, I started following Liverpool in 2005, and I remember distinctly coming in around that time. The big criticism about the way the club was run was that we were trying to buy the biggest name that may not necessarily fit what we were trying to do, just because, you know, a bit of fan appeasement, trying to get butts in seats, trying to fill it, and trying to get engagement that way. And now we have a management team. We have a coach and a manager who eschews that whole strategy and only buys the guys that he thinks is going to fit, and we still have a problem. It's like, well, which one do you want? Do you want us to just go splash 80 million on somebody who probably Klopp doesn't even really want, might not fit? We'd be upset about that too. So it's like, make your mind up.
It's like they come out and they complain that we're not signing somebody right this second. You don't know what's going on behind the scene. Nobody knows, and I think that's been said several times on here.
Yeah,
like it's like a swan. You know what I mean? It's all graceful on top, but the legs are going a million miles behind the scenes, and you just don't know. So they're online spouting out that we're not signing this. But how many of them do you think could pick Matthew Nunez out of a lineup? I don't think many of them.
How many of those actually watched what he's like in the Primera? How do they know if he's going to be suitable for us? A name gets dropped and they automatically think that's the player that we should be going for. It doesn't work like that. For all we know, he could be having his medical right now, and we don't actually know. No one knows what's going on. We're so watertight now. Nothing gets leaked until about an hour before it's revealed, and it's just so frustrating.
Well, look, there's a nice comment there from Michael Murphy. The Redmen TV, the Anfield Rap, and you, the LFC Daytrippers, represent us lifelong Liverpool fans. Thanks very much.
We see things clarity. That's why we're not just seeing it through a fog. We just see how it is. We're not stupid.
And like I said at the very start of this, I'm going to move on to the next topic now in a minute because it does kind of nearly segue into Dan's topic. We all would like a midfielder like as much as the next person, but we don't go online kicking and screaming, throwing tantrums when it doesn't happen, or if it's not happening yesterday. I trust the process, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for a reason. Look, we shall see what happens. Dan's topic is: should we add to the midfield? The tenuous midfield, and given at first, actually, when you put the topic in, it was rival. You did just say rival, rather than rivals. So let's have a look at how we kind of match up in terms of against City, our biggest rival, stats wise, and why should we, in your opinion, add to the midfield?
Okay. So some of the stats I got, if anybody plays FPL, then they will know from Twitter, they will know a person called Ben Dinnery does a lot of the pre-game lineup predictions in terms of who's injured, who's not, like that kind of thing. He also runs a side business as well. So I got the stats, or some of these stats, from him. So I asked him to look at Liverpool's and City in terms of their injury record from last season, just in the Premier League. So, and it was in terms of games lost in a total of the squad. So Liverpool last season, in terms of games lost through player injury, was 108 games. Man City lost 93 games. In terms of lost players through injury for 93 of the Premier League games in total out of their squad. So when you looked at both of the numbers there's not much of a difference. It's nip and tuck, to be fair. Then I asked him to specifically look into our midfields, both ours and City's, and that's where the numbers kind of changed alarmingly. So we had 58 games where players were out injured in the Premier League in total from our midfielders. City, on the other hand, only lost 16 players for games in the Premier League. So there's a massive difference in that, in terms of, I suppose, player durability. There are caveats to that. City have a better midfield. You can spread the games amongst the players, and I'll look at that now. In terms of appearances, season 2021-2022, in all competitions, and this is based on starts. So we look at our squad. Hendo, 36 starts in all comps. Fab, 35. Thiago, 24. So I suppose if you look at our first choice three in midfield, they are the first choice three, them three players there. When you look at City, Rodri made 43 starts in all comps last season. KDB made 34 starts. Bernardo Silva, 44 starts. Foden, 32. You could probably argue that Foden's not really a midfielder. He's kind of a wide forward, but yeah. Gundogan, 26, and Fernandinho, 12. And then we have Milner made 12 starts. Keita, 19. Ox, 12. Jones, 12, and Elliott, 5. So when you look at the numbers there, you can probably say that the one outstanding number is obviously Rodri's. He makes 43 starts. But I think we can probably all agree that he's coming into the peak of his career and he's an absolute physical beast. 6'2", I think he is. He can run, he can tackle, he can head. Very rarely gets injured.
Looked a bit heavy last weekend, I thought.
Yeah.
In the Community Shield.
Yeah.
I thought he looked a bit chunky.
But I thought, in terms of weight.
Yeah. He looked like he was still carrying a bit of summer break weight.
Yeah,
Do you know the way Bobby used to come back? He used to have nearly like a double chin.
Yeah,
Take him
possibly.
2 weeks to get rid of it. But that's what
Possibly.
Rodri looked a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's probably because they are behind.
I know I want to talk, by the way.
Pre-season fitness.
I'm still carrying baby weight from 13 years ago.
So when you look at their numbers, like you say, they are able to maneuver them players in terms of their minutes around more than what we were. You can see by the numbers, obviously KDB 34, Silva 44, and Rodri 43. It screams that they are probably, I don't know, maybe better physically prepared, and they obviously play. They start more games, but do they finish as many as what our players have done? Henderson, for example, played more games last season under Klopp than any other player has ever played. And yes, there is a caveat. Obviously, we played every single game that was available. But when you look at his age, his profile, his injury record, and you look at that, it's like, did he play too much? Because my opinion for the back end of last season, maybe the last 2, 3, 4 games, including the Champions League, was we looked mentally and physically, we looked tired. That was my personal opinion. And I think when you look at the numbers there, Hendo and Fab, 35 and 36 appearances, in the league, in all comps. And then Thiago's the next one down, and he's 11 games behind that. I think that the numbers tell that they have a bigger pool. The other stat that I looked at, which was surprisingly, City have, since the end of summer of 2017, Manchester City have only bought 2 midfielders since 2017. So everybody complains that we haven't bought a midfielder for 3 or 4 years. Man City have done exactly the same thing. They've bought 2. One of them was Rodri, and the other one is Calvin Phillips, who they've just bought this summer. Apart from that, you have to go back to, like I say, the start of 2017. That summer is when they bought Bernardo Silva. So, they've done exactly the same as what we have. I don't know. I'll leave it to the panel to give their views on whether or not they think we need to add to our midfield.
I think from looking at that, it just looks like they have probably a little bit better in terms of depth, and can probably rotate a little bit more than what we can.
Mm.
Having said that, Henderson only played 36, Roger played 43. We played in every single game of every single tournament. So we would have had the likes of Jones, we would have had the likes of Keita, we would have had the likes of Morton, etc., playing in the likes of the League Cup and FA Cup. Looking at those figures, I'll come to you next, Ron. Does that give any indication as to whether we need to add, or we need to kind of add more quality, let's say, to be able to do a little bit more heavy lifting?
I would say it does. And I think the next step in terms of analyzing that is to think about not just the number of games played, but also how the team performs with who actually makes up the selection. And to be perfectly blunt, you know, the function of our midfield really relies on two people being ever present. That's Jordan Henderson and Fabinho. You miss those two, you could put in Naby, you could put in whoever you want, all left in the squad. You already know it. You're going to be a little bit hesitant about how that's going to work. Not to say, you know, we can't have guys step up and do a job. It happens from time to time, and I would back them to do so. But from Klopp's own view, you know, Jordan Henderson and Fabinho are the first two names on team sheet in midfield week in, week out in the Premier League. And for the fact that, you know, as Jordan has gotten on a bit, and you know, he's picked up his injuries, the niggling injuries that he gets take a little bit longer to get over. So where he would only miss maybe one game, now he might miss two. Fabinho, it's not so much of how many games he misses, but how many games it takes him to get back up to speed. You know, anything happens to either one of those, and you know, we've got some serious questions to think about in terms of our functionality in our midfield. So, I think that combined with the analysis Dan just gave doesn't mean we need to throw our toys out the pram, obviously, but it is some serious consideration for the fact that we probably do need another reliable body that in the midfield.
I just from and as you say that there, and just looking at the figures that Dan has just given us, I think at the back, do you know what I mean? We are still kind of remembering what happened a couple of seasons back, but we currently have an injury to Konate. Is anybody overly worried about having that injury to Konate? Probably not, because we have Matip and we have Gomez. Up front, we currently have Jota out. Is anybody overly concerned about that? No, we have Nunez, we have Firmino, we have Diaz and Salah. What you've said there is right, Ron, that you've probably got two people there. Two of those three you would probably want to have in your starting 11 consistently. And I don't think if City were to lose, bar De Bruyne, okay, if they were to lose a Rodri or a Silva and have to play with Gundogan and maybe another in there for an extended period of time, it wouldn't actually impact them as much as us losing Henderson and Fabinho, or even just Fabinho, or even just one of them. And I know we've lost Thiago. And for that reason, maybe that's why I think that you need to have just a little bit more quality. Look, Ox, probably, I don't, to be honest with you, probably ever see Ox playing for Liverpool again. We have Jones injured, we have Thiago injured, Morton is gone, even Leighton Clarkson is gone. So we're kind of nearly running out of backup. And I know that there's messages saying there, if we turn to a 2 in midfield, it kind of takes the pressure off that. But Ash, looking at the figures that Dan has given us there, what's your opinion on the midfield?
I think we covered it a little bit last week, didn't we, mate? It's everyone wants a new shiny toy, and I think between us all, we've always made a point that we are potentially a little bit short, and that investment is needed. And I think I said last week, I think next summer is when we will go hard. But then I did predict that we're not going to get any injuries, and look what's happened. I've kind of screwed that over, and now Thiago's out for 6 weeks, and I think that might push our hand a little bit. I'm not going to turn around and say that we're going to buy someone, but who knows? It's given us more of an impetus to go out and potentially sign a midfielder to strengthen it. You got to remember, these are the same group of lads that got us 63 games last year, played every single game. It doesn't happen on a whim. You know, they're experienced lads. They've been there a while. They've worked under Klopp. They've been trained under Klopp. They know what to do and what the system involves. Like I said, bringing someone in, if they're not Premier League experienced, it's going to take a while for them to get up to speed anyway. But again, I think we're light. If I'm truthfully honest, I think we're light.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be some sort of a marquee signing.
No,
do you know what I mean?
No,
It's
exactly.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be somebody that comes in and starts every game. But it's nice to have something there should the with the view and I've said that maybe, and not even necessarily competition to Fabinho, because I was talking about it and I was saying maybe he's complacent. I'm not sure whether he's complacent. It's probably more comfortable than complacent. There's nobody else really challenging him. The only person that can really play in there other than him is Hendo. But more often than not, you'll probably find that both of them are playing. So there's nobody really pushing him for his place.
Exactly.
And I'm not doubting his attitude. I'm not doubting anything like that. But it's always nice to have some young gun hunting down your place in the team. At the moment, I don't feel he has that. And we are a little bit light in terms of the six or the defensive midfielder. So yes, we've got for Hendo that can sit in there for him if he's looking to take Fabinho out. But then what happens if Fabinho gets an injury and then it's Henderson playing in the six? Who takes over for Henderson for an extended period of time? And
Keita maybe, Curtis Jones. We could put Carvalho in there if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But then again, you're relying on two 18, 19-year-olds to fill out the void.
And I don't particularly see Carvalho being a midfielder. He's
no. I think that is last
left wing or
chance.
10.
I think if we're really desperate, then we might see him slot into that. But it's not his position. That is literally a case of like we had Fabinho playing in defence a couple of years ago. It was needs must. But I've said it before. I do think we'll see a lot more of the 4-2-3-1 this year, which means there's only two places in midfield up for grabs, which will give us more opportunity to rotate and potentially avoid injury. And I will use potentially lightly because I don't trust myself anymore. I'm not going to say anything. Not after last week. I'm not saying anything they were. It's looking very more tenuous, as Ron was saying last week. It's getting more tenuous as the week goes by. I'm keep quiet.
I'm never going to live that down.
That word runs like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
It just keeps coming back.
Or Allison makes a good point there. He said that if it was up to him, he'd probably get an English midfielder and not register Ox. He will barely play until January due to injury and World Cup anyway.
But then that's a little nod towards next summer, isn't it? With all JB coming in.
Yeah, I mean, who do you buy now that's English?
Exactly. I think it looks inevitable that next summer we're going to go hard for Jude Bellingham. So one English out, one English in. So
well, look, there's still 3 weeks left in the transfer window. I'm still confident that we probably do something. But again, if it happens, it happens. If not, sure, we dust down and move on. It is a bit of a strange season this year. It's a case of I think 16 games, is it? And 6 cup games? 16 league games.
24 games before the World Cup.
Champions League and 1 or 2 cup, I think it's something like that.
So look, we'll move on anyway. I know, Ron, your topic was the menace that is Darwin Nunez. And should Darwin Nunez start against Palace next Monday? I personally think he should, but over to you.
And I would agree with that. And I say this as a person who is a huge Bobby fan. I'm glad. I hope he signs on and stays. I always think there's a place and a use for him in the squad. But even in the Community Shield, it's hard to take last week's performance and try to say, nope, somebody shouldn't be starting this, because if that was the case, you could say that about 11 players, right? Well, 10, because Allison really didn't do anything wrong. So not based on that, but even if you just look at that performance and the Community Shield performance, doesn't like Bobby's hit the ground running. He wasn't terrible in the Community Shield, but he's coming off the back of a season where, to be fair, wasn't his best. Just put it that way. And he's got another. When Jota initially came in, he got a rocket up the backside. The performances weren't. There was a performance uptick from him. Had an injury, unfortunately, and it's been slow to get back. Now you've got another young, hungry forward who looks like he's ready to try to light the world on fire. And I would say, give him a shot, see what he can do. This is the biggest stage, and the beautiful thing about the way the squad's constructed now, at least in our forward options, is you can give him that game to say, hey, here you announce yourself on the Premier League stage, and if it's not going good, we have options on 60 and 70 to try to rectify that. Especially so for me, I would take the punt and start him next week. No disrespect to Bobby, but I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, what I would say is, and I think it may have been winners and losers, or the forum as it turned into for one night only on Monday. I think somebody made the point on it. I can't remember now, but they said that they would have liked to see Nunez start because we knew Fulham were going to come up and they were going to put it up to us. But he was the one person that maybe Fulham wouldn't have had their homework done on. They would have known how we've played. They've probably played against that. Well, the club have played against that team before, and they'd know most of the players. The one kind of unknown entity was probably Nunez, and maybe no, they would have known Carvalho obviously because he played at Fulham. So throw in Nunez for that kind of bit of unpredictability. And to be honest with you, when he comes on, he's an absolute menace. I played centre half when I played football, not to a great standard, but you just didn't like playing against players like him. That you literally, he's on one shoulder 1 second, you turn around and he's gone. He just absolutely pulled them asunder. Ash, your opinion on Nunez? I know you're going to game, so you probably want him to start just for that reason. But in terms of the game itself, should he start against Palace?
Without doubt. I think the last two games, the Charity Shield and at the weekend, it was a game changer. I genuinely thought you changed the game in our advantage in both games. City couldn't handle him when he came on. He had a good one-on-one chance, which he missed, and then obviously got his goal at the end. And then on Saturday, he was a bit of a menace. He got his goal, should have scored exactly the same kind of goal 2 minutes earlier. People are saying it might be an own goal. It was lucky deflection. It don't matter. It went in off him at the end of the day. He's got his goal. That's the first one. And I think that's the only prediction I got right was last week. Was I said that Nunez will get his first goal on Saturday. So I got 1 out of 3. So I'll take that. No, I think without a doubt, mate, I think he needs to start on Monday, should I say? And like I said, game changer. And just put himself there. He's knocking balls down for Diaz, who obviously could have scored, but he didn't. Set up Mo, however much he knew about that, no one knows because it just seems to just come off him and Mo was
training ground move. That's
it, mate. Telekinesis straight away. It's only taken a couple of weeks and Mo's in the right place.
Telepathic.
It's just been both games, mate. Just changed it in our advantage, and we know what it's like. They like to Klopp likes to bed him in, doesn't he, for a few weeks and then chuck him in, but. I don't think that's the case with Nunez. He's a bit like Diaz, come in, perform straight away and hit the ground running. So definitely, without a doubt, mate, got to see him on Monday. Without a doubt, is inevitable, I think.
So Chris says there, sorry, just is part of the factor that has made him a game changer coming on against third legs for the last 30. Dan, do you think it's a case that he looks a menace or it looks like a game changer because teams that he's coming on against are already tired?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a factor. But what I noticed about him in the City game Ruben Diaz, he pulled him all over the place. He had a horrid time trying to mark him, and he's not even physically up to the standards that we probably want him to be yet. And he was an absolute menace for Ruben Diaz. The same against Fulham at the weekend. Their centre-backs had an easy game up until he comes on. Bobby's dropping into that half space in between midfield and attack to pick up the ball. He's not got any runners in front of him. Their two centre-backs are obviously got nothing really to do. So they've had an easy game. And then on comes Nunez. And the problem you've got is the two centre-backs. They know he's good in the air. So you're probably going to want to go man for man. So you'll either screen him in front or you'll have one that slips in and sweeps in behind. But he's also very, very good quick. So I think it was Tim Ream that was one of the centre-backs. I mean, he obviously knows that he's going to do him for pace. Even if he is the one in behind sweeping, he's still doing him for pace. So automatically, straight away, from when he comes onto the pitch within the first couple of minutes, they know they're in a game, there's two centre-backs, because they've got a big lad, 6 foot plus. He's good in the air. He's very, very quick on the ground. He's wiry. He's going to give you a hard time. And against Palace, he will need to start up front for me, because the one thing I noticed about Anderson last season when he was at Fulham, the guy's very good in the air, and give him the time on the ball and he will pop balls over the top, 50, 60 yards into the feet of the likes of Eze and Zaha. And I don't know about you, but I don't want Eze or Zaha running at our fullbacks, because if they're they're one-on-one against them two, they're getting toasted. It's as simple as that. So if he plays, gives you the option to say, you can say to him, look, leave Guy, or I'm pronouncing his name, I'm absolutely butchering his name, but the other guy that plays centre-back for them, the young English lad, leave him alone, because he's not very good with the ball at his feet. He's okay. But just make sure that you are within 2, 3, 5 yards of Anderson. So when he gets hold of the ball, he's got the ball at his feet, he doesn't get time to look up. Just close him down, make sure he does get no time whatsoever. And then you're there as well on the other side of it to win them balls when we can go direct, when we need to go direct. If we do, he's there to occupy that. And also, they know that in behind, there's no reason for Palace to turn around and say we're gonna push this 10 yards further forward. You know, Patrick Vieira is not going to say to his team, if he starts at the start of the game, try and condense this pitch, because Bobby's not going to run in behind us. If Nunez is playing, if they're not going to do that, there's no way they're going to try and do that. So for me, he has to start against Palace. He occupies the both of them more importantly than anything else, and that gives obviously Diaz or Bobby or whoever you're going to start on either side, or obviously Salah and Diaz. It frees them up, because the fullbacks are then, it's one-on-one. So left side, right side, they're one-on-one against their players. The fullbacks know that the centre-backs, they can't pull them over to the other side because they're being occupied by this guy. If you leave him one-on-one, I think he's going to do either one of them. So, yeah, he's got to start for me.
And I think you actually saw when he came on at the weekend, and probably when Elliott came on as well, that it actually gave Salah that little bit more space, and we started to become a little bit more dangerous down that right side. And that's where most of our chances actually came from. And it is probably because he does tend to occupy, but like defenders have the choice to make now. Do we double up on Salah? Do we double up on Diaz? Do we double up on Nunez? We can't double up on all of them. So one of them is getting space. So even if it's a case that they double up on Mount, that frees up Nunez and Diaz with more space. So I think, and I said this last week, that when we had Mane, Firmino and Salah, defenders didn't know what to do with them at one stage. I think that front three of Diaz, Nunez and Salah will probably cause more trouble for defenders, because they all have pace, and once you're doubling up on one, you're leaving space for the others.
Well, the only thing the opposition fullbacks can possibly do is to say, well, don't really want to leave our centre backs isolated with Nunez, so I don't really want to be one-on-one with Mo Salah either. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tuck in 5 or 10 yards. The right back's going to tuck in 5 or 10 yards, and we're just going to have a nice condensed. The width of the 18-yard box, that's our back four. But what that allows us, again, to have is Robertson and Trent on the
without
outside, overlapping and whipping balls in. So either whichever way you look at it, it creates space and creates time for players around you. So yeah, he's got to be a starter for me.
And I personally think, and I'll ask you all three as well. So if he gets in, I think if he starts on Monday, does well on Monday, that's it. He's in the team. That's he's kind of nearly cemented his spot.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
well,
is my point tenuous?
no, it's not tenuous. It's fairly strong because I tend to agree with it. But there is a guy, a 20 goal Premier League player by the name of Diogo Jota that might want to have something to say about that. So it's not necessarily guaranteed that he does this, but he'll be in front of Bobby. But I don't know if the shirt is definitely his.
Yeah, Jota will have a lot to say about that.
I think we might see Jota more on the left, compete with Diaz if Nunez is on fire.
Okay, so I have a question.
Then you have Carvalho competing with all three of them.
I have a question about Jota on the left, because I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of us last season looked at Jota on the left and said, rather have him down the middle. So while he might pop up on the left out of necessity, do you guys really think that that's something that might be viable going forward? Because it might hit Jota on the left with Diaz with Nunez in front of him might be a completely different prospect.
I think the good thing as well. Sorry, Dan.
No, go on, mate. Go on.
What I was going to say was the good thing as well was Nunez plays the left a lot on last season for Benfica, so you might see a lot of crossover between the two. So you might start with like Nunez down the middle and Jota on the left, and then it might not work for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then you might see an interchange during the game. So you might see a period of time where Jota's down the middle and we stick Nunez on the left. I think the good thing is with Jota, Nunez, and Diaz, they can go between the two positions between them all.
I think we did see a little bit of that as well when we were with the Mane, Firmino, and Salah. There was a lot of kind of chat. You didn't know which one of them was going to pop up on which side, or which one of them was going to be down the middle. So there was a lot of interchange on it. So Kev O'Sullivan had up there as well as that he would be more interested in who replaces Thiago. So look, what we'll do is we're going to get into that. So we're going to do lineup predictions. We're going to do score predictions. Everybody knows the rules. If you're picking goals, you must tell us who predicted them. At this stage now, I think Ash will probably vanish after last week's prediction, which is my Chris Brack segue into IP Vanish. So, did you know that browsing online using incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? That's right. Without adding added security, you might as well give all of your private data to hackers, advertisers, your ISP, and other preying eyes. IP Vanish makes it easy to stay truly private and secure on the internet. IP Vanish helps you safely browse the internet by encrypting 100% of your data. This means that your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be completely shielded by falling into the wrong hands. Even your physical location will be hidden. IP Vanish makes you virtually invisible online. It's that simple. You can use IP Vanish on unlimited devices without sacrificing on speed. Your computers, tablets, phones, even devices like Fire Stick when you're streaming media. Whether I'm at home or in public, I don't go online anymore without using IP Vanish. IP Vanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan to our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's just like getting 9 months for free. IP Vanish is super easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're instantly protected. You won't even know it's on. Stop sharing with the world everything you stream, everything you search for, and everything you buy. Take your privacy back today with the brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. So to get your deal, go to ipvanish.com/daytrippers and claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/daytrippers. I'm glad Ash hasn't vanished. So I'll come to you first, Ash. We'll get the bogey out of the way first. So lineup for Monday.
So my lineup, Ali in goal. Obviously, same back four as what it was against Fulham. So Trent, Matip, Verge, and Robbo. And then I think in midfield, it's going to be Fabinho, Hendo, and Elliott. And then up front, it's going to be Diaz, Nunez, and Salah. So the second half of last weekend, I reckon. Well,
Okay.
until Milner come on and all that.
Score.
I'm not going to. I'm not jinxing it, mate. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to keep stum for this one. Ask me again next week, but I'm not doing it this week. Sorry.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not.
Red Steve said, sorry, I was talking to my missus. What was that you were saying now? I'll email it to you, Red Steve. Maybe you can record it for us and we'll just play it. Ron, lineup, similar or different? Or?
Exact same as Ash, but I'll give scores. I'll say Diaz with the first and Nunez to cap the win.
So 2-0.
2-0 to the Reds.
Okay. Dan, lineup.
Same goalkeeper and back four. And then I would go Fab in the 6. I would go Hendo right side. And I think he'll probably go Keita left because although I can see the plus points of having Elliott in the team, I don't like Hendo playing on the left-hand side. I just think the balance of the team's just off. So I wouldn't have that. And then Diaz, Nunez, and Salah up top. And I would say we win 2-0. Nunez and Salah were the goals.
So Nunez, Salah. And sorry, Ron, you said Nunez.
Diaz.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to say, and it's based off something that was said. This is going to sound wild. It's based off what you said, Dan, in terms of the pace that Crystal Palace have, and the fact that Anderson can spray balls left, right, and centre. So I'm going to go Alisson in goal. I'm going to go Trent. I'm going to go Gomez and Van Dijk. Gomez for pace over Matip, and Robbo. Then I'm going to go. Yeah, I'll go Fabinho. I had thought about not putting him in and putting Hendo in there. We'll go Fabinho. We'll go Henderson on the right-hand side of the midfield and Keita, same as you, Dan. And then we'll go Salah, Nunez, Diaz. I'm going to go for 3-1. And I am going to go for Salah by 2 and Nunez by 1. Sure you don't want to give a prediction, Ash?
I'm tempting, mate, but I just do want to tempt fate.
Okay. We won't press you because we'll only blame you next week.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Like I said, after me saying that we're going to win 5-0 against Fulham, I don't think that went down too well, did it? I'm not tempting it. I do not want to tempt fate.
Well, look, I mean, when was the last time, obviously, and I said this as well, bar the 6 home games in the shutdown or lockdown or whatever you wanted to call it, that we played 2 games as bad as we had played last week in a row. So, and we normally come back and go on a little bit of a tear. I am unknown certain terms that Klopp has put an absolute rocket up them ever since that result. And they will be more than prepared, you would hope, for Crystal Palace. Well, for Palace, for us as fans, for Ash, for Shawnee, and for Matt, who's going to Anfield for only the 2nd time. He's the real Jonah. If we don't win on that Monday, he is literally banned from the UK and ever attending any more Liverpool matches.
Take his passport off him.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll even consider making him stand outside Ryan's against United. He can drink his points outside and look at the match through the window or something. But anyway, look, thanks again for joining us, lads. Dan, is there anything else you have for us tonight?
I mean, I was just quickly going to say, did anybody pick up on the fact that we have gone 1-0 down in 7 of our last 9 games in all comps?
Yeah, I did see that earlier.
Last season and this season. And each of the last 5 league games, in 4 of them, it's in the first 15 minutes. So there's obviously a little bit of an issue there that we need to address. Yeah.
Are you throwing in a last minute topic?
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. I've not, to be honest with you, do you know what? I've not really had a chance to think about it. I did see that stat. What do you personally, so you've said it. What do you think it is?
I mean, the ignorant answer would be that it was fatigue. To be fair, lack of concentration maybe at the start of the game, especially when you look at the 4 of the 5 in the league we've conceded in the first 15 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it is an issue because a lot of the time we were very good at that, controlling games, especially for the first 50, 60 minutes of a game. And teams were just looking for scraps in that last 20, 25 minutes. Let's get to 65, 70 and see if we're still in the game. Now it's a case of if that carries on, let's try and hit them early and bloody the nose, and then we'll see what they've got. And I think that contributed to us being maybe fatigued in the last 3 or 4 of last season, because you go 1 down very early. It's not a case of you trying to manage the game. Then it's then the case of you trying to get back into the game before you can manage it, and that's obviously exerting a lot more energy than what you would want. Because Van Dijk's a perfect example of a player that just glides through a game for probably 60, 70 minutes of a game. He's just like a Rolls Royce. Puts himself into 3rd or 4th gear whenever he needs to, but that's not very often. But, and as a team, if you're going 1 down very early, I think that's an issue. But I would put it down to just mental fatigue. I don't think it's a structural thing. I don't think it's a tactical thing, and I don't think it's an attitude kind of thing, to be fair. I think it was just that fatigue, but I don't know what.
I'm just reading Kev O'Sullivan's point there, and it's something that I've probably noticed myself as well, is that did we lose somewhat of a fear factor? It's like teams aren't afraid to come out and have a go at us, and maybe it's because they saw us go behind, and it's there you go. Yeah, if you sit back, if they sit back, we'll score. Their best chance is to gamble, and we've seen more and more teams do it. It's amazing. We don't see them do it against City. Well, why does everybody just pick on us? Come on, we'll have a go at these Liverpool lads. And I think that's what it is. But it's probably that because it was towards the back end, I think, of last season that I noticed. And it maybe is a case of the fatigue. Maybe these lads have played 60 odd games, 55 games. So I do think it's teams come out and they seem to, as much as Man City are the big team in the league now, it's still kind of more of a scalp, I think, to maybe beat us than it is to beat City. I know that's going to sound strange, but I just think it is still a bigger scalp to beat Liverpool. So they come out and they have a go. And some get lucky, some we shut out. But I'm not going to say it's a worrying factor, but it is a trend that maybe needs booking. Ron, do you see it as being anything else?
I agree with all of that. I also think there's one other thing added to that, which is the fact that for a long time, for at least 2 seasons, teams like you guys have pointed out, Dan pointed out, teams realize that, and Kev pointed out, teams realize that sitting back only gets them punched, right? So they've count on to the fact that our best chance is to hit them as fast as we can and see what they've got. Whereas we've kind of we've adjusted, we've kind of stayed in the mode of, well, they're going to sit back. If we just weather the first 15 minutes, dictate play, dictate terms, we'll get our goals in the end. We just have to wear them down, and we haven't. It doesn't seem like psychologically we've caught on to the fact that no, these guys are going to come out the trap screaming. We need to punch them in the mouth early. So it seems like we've kind of conditioned ourselves to sort of slow walk into the game as opposed to come out of the traps based on the way things have been, which is, everybody's sitting in 2 banks of 4, not really trying to get out, not really applying any pressure to us. And I think we need to go back to, regardless of how they're approaching the game, we still need to hit them first. Just come out of the traps like we did before and just punch them in the face and make them wilt. But we've kind of shied away from that just to the way games have been played out for the last season and a half, 2 seasons.
Do you agree with that, Ash? It has been a while since we've come out and absolutely blitzed the team. Do you think that's part of it? We're kind of not necessarily sitting ducks, but we do tend to sit back. We like to kind of pick our moments to burst onto the attack rather than it just being the heavy metal football that we maybe used to play. And we used to, it'd be 3-4-0 after 15, 20 minutes. We've not seen that in a while.
Yeah, I think, like I said, compared to Klopp's early days, compared to now, it's a different ball game, isn't it? So to speak, excuse the pun, but like I said, it's not the heavy metal like we used to, and it seems like we try to play a more controlled game now and at a pace of our own pace, shall we say. And it feels like a lot of teams, when they play us, they try and replicate what we were doing in the earlier Klopp days, try and blow away in the first 10, 20 minutes, get the early punches in, and then take control of the game, and that's it, really. But I think the other two lads have summed it up well, really.
That's what I was laughing at there.
Yeah, it's been a while since we played
Arsenal.
It's
been a while since we blew somebody away. It's been a while since we played Arsenal.
That's what we need, don't we? Play Arsenal, win 3-4 now, and then get it back on the bandwagon. And then we have Arteta putting the "you never walk alone" chants and all that around the training ground again.
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah. So I think those two summed it up well. Emmet, to be honest, it's a combination of a lot of things, and I can't see it lasting for a prolonged amount of time. I think it'd be a matter of time until we start seeing normality resume. To be fair,
I think. Go ahead, Ron. Yeah.
Although we do dish out a hiding every once in a while each season, and I was particularly happy that we gave one to Man United in the way we did. That was rather refreshing. So if it's going to be somebody, let it be them again.
Speaking of Manchester United, this empty Old Trafford that they're going to do for the Liverpool game on the 22nd, we emptied it twice last year for you. Do you know what I mean? I don't. It's just. I think somebody said don't buy the tickets in the first place. Do you know what I mean? Why go and then walk out? Just don't buy the money are in their pockets. They don't give a shit whether they stay for the whole match or not.
What are you achieving by walking out after 65 minutes? Like you say, you've already paid. You've already bought your ticket, or you're a season ticket holder. You've already paid that during the pre-season anyway. So the owners are just like, oh, we'll do.
Not all the lads at home making up these protests in their jerseys. This season's jersey, with Ronaldo written on the back of it.
As much as everybody wants to take the mick out of Manchester United, the owners know as well as we do that if 10,000 season ticket holders or 10,000 match day goers who buy normal on sale tickets walk away and don't come back, there's 10,000 around the corner that are waiting for a ticket. They know that.
Yeah. So what were you going to say there, Ron? We'll give you.
No, I was just saying it's a very ironic protest considering that their main gripe is that the owners just want to take in money and squeeze as much money as they can out of the club. It's like, well, you're giving them the one thing you say that they want, and that's all they want. So how's that a protest against them? And they're like, so let me get straight. You're upset with me, but you're going to give me what I want. Okay. I'll take it. It's fine with me.
Anything else from you tonight, Ash?
No, mate. I'm keeping my wits about me. I'm keeping quiet. I'm just looking forward to Monday's game, mate. Looking forward to seeing a couple of the trippers. It's going to be a bit of a heavy, long day, I'd imagine, but I can't drink too much. I'm driving home, so I've got to behave. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. Can't wait. It'd be nice to be back in the stadium, see the Reds under the lights. And that's all I've got to say, really, mate. I'm not going to say anything.
He was tempted to say this.
I'm not going to say anything else. Like, this is it. I'm
text it to us. Anything else from you, Ron?
No, nothing else. Looking forward to Monday. It's could be a couple interesting games this weekend. So, but it'll be hard to wait until Monday to watch the Reds. But we got to do what we got to do. Only thing I'm going to do is mention. Don't forget Bobby's wish.
No, I was just about to say, as Ron says, we are supporting Bobby's Wish to Walk. The link will be in the description. Please donate if you can. No donation too big or too small. If you can't donate yourself, share the link, even into a WhatsApp group. Share it into your WhatsApp group. I have a WhatsApp group, and what we generally do is we run a last man standard, 50% to the winner, 50% to the charity that's running at the time. If any of you donated to Sienna, you will have seen the treatment that Sienna had to have and how well she's doing now. That's similar treatment to what Bobby is going to require as well. So please, if you can, share the link into your WhatsApp groups, into your family WhatsApp groups, and just spread the word and get donations in. It's 150k they're looking to hit. I'm not sure what it is at the moment, but it is over 100,000 at the moment. So please,
Archer's saying,
115 is it?
That's what Archer's saying, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So still a bit of a way to go, but let's smash that 150 and get him his wish. Ron, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you sealed that deal before coming on. Ash, thanks for coming in and joining the show. And Dan, thanks. And myself and a few others will be on for some tickets for Formula 1. That was the viewer's voice. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Thanks to Chris in the background. We'll be back next week. We'll see you then.
Stay safe.